All right, we're back one more time here. Good news is, looks like the server is corrected here. I'm gonna refresh the capture card just to make sure. And with that, let's try this one more time. Well, with that, we are coming to you from Snetterton Circuit, again in the UK. Bit of a smaller track here, at just over 2.96 miles, so just shy of 3 miles for a full lap here, or just a little over 4.75 kilometers, so 4.77 kilometers to be specific. And with that, got 12 turns that make up the circuit as well, so it's going to be an interesting one. The circuit isn't something that we see a ton of action out of here in the States, at least. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of racing we have in store. There are a couple technical corners here, a bit of a mix of high speed and sweeping corners, along with some slower technical corners as well. But with that, qualifying will get underway here in just a few moments. Free practice had to be reset.
Green light. Give it all you got.
And now we transition into qualifying. So if this is your first time here with us for qualifying, you run a mixed qualifying. So the first 8 minutes is dedicated to the AM and Pro AM drivers who are coming out onto circuit now, followed by the Pro drivers. And if you are not familiar with how to differentiate the drivers here, lower left corner on the scoreboard, you'll see the silver backed driver plate numbers. Like Violet Grill, for example, 98. That silver background indicates Pro Am, whereas the red background is going to be the amateur drivers, such as Azteca here in the 169 Mustang. And then the pro drivers have the white background. And as you can tell, the rain has picked up a little bit from when we first joined in practice here to try and get things underway. So the weather system has reset itself here as we get underway for qualifying. Again, the time multiplier has been increased, so we may have a chance at seeing some dry conditions later on this. It looks like we've got our first handful of drivers out on track for their 8 minutes of qualifying here. And it looks like FHM J-Dog is going to lead us to the first flying lap as he will come up to Brundle and Nelson. One of the final few corners here. A little bit of a tricky corner as you see Cool Whip in the background go off in the number 3 BMW. These wet conditions are going to make it even more tricky for some of these drivers. And now FHM J-Dog coming through Coram and Murray's. Murray's is the final corner here and will come onto the high-speed straight. Past pit entry. He will be the first driver on a flying lap. Looks like he will cross the line with about 13 minutes and 46 seconds to go. So we will see who can run the fastest lap here in the first grouping. And looks like the 169 Mustang of Azteca is off circuit here. And again, a bit of a tricky spot here. That is right outside Nelson coming into bomb hole. I guess I said bomb, not bum. You can see more difficulties here through some of these corners. Matty Ice having to overcorrect that 92 Lexus. That is out of Montreal, which is turn 2. And we'll check in with FHM J-Dog. Looks like he's a little off pace compared to his outlap here, so we'll see if he can find any pace here in the last sector of the circuit coming up here. As he will now come up to Brundle here next. That is turn 8, and now through Nelson at turn 9. He is continuing to drop pace now compared to his outlap, so not a great pace here. The weather definitely playing a huge factor. And now onto that straight, we will have our first flying lap time here. Looks like it is going to be a clean lap. He does pick up the pace here and runs a 156.732 for the preliminary fast lap here in the AM and Pro Am division of qualifying. Look at this, the number 3 BMW of Cool Whip has taken over that preliminary fast time now. A 155.818 as Grill in the 98 Mustang has some troubles behind him. We'll check in with Atomic Hippo, one of the amateur drivers here, or AM class drivers, currently sits in P11 at the moment, so this will be his first flying lap. He will run a 159.305, puts him 6th quickest at the moment. See Senna 509 in that 12 Porsche here, holding on to P5 at the moment, a 157.977, his fastest lap. He's got about 3/10, but he's starting to lose some pace now, down to just under 2.5 here. And on the high-speed straight, heading towards Brundle. Now really losing pace, dropping from about 2.5 up to less than 1/10, but now picks up a little bit of it here on the exit of Nelson. And finds himself almost a half second up on his lap time. So you can see just how much of a difference those corners can make here. FHM J-Dog getting ready to come to the line as well. And he's going to be a little bit off pace here, a 156.977. And Senna will take the line at a 157.052, but stays in 5th place. So a time improvement, but no positions gained on his second flying lap, as we are coming up to the final 60 seconds of qualifying for the Pro Am and Am drivers here. And Komakopa has invalidated his lap. He will cross the line at a 205.950, but he holds on to P4 at the moment with a 156.342. And as I say that, he gets bumped because Sensei Tiga has come across the line in the 323 McLaren and run a 156.237, good enough for 3rd place here. And these will be our final few laps here. And it looks like Azteca having some difficulty here in Snetterton. He has not run a clean lap yet. He is struggling to keep a lap put together here. He's about a second off his pace here through turn 2 already. And you can see the pro drivers starting to get antsy to head out, heading to the end of pit lane here. Getting ready to head out onto circuit next here in about 10 seconds time. They will be given the green light. And FHM J-Dog out of the final corner here. And he will opt to stay out for the final flying lap attempt. He is off pace and invalidated the lap here. Like FHM J-Dog is going to drop to 6th place in the Am and Pro Am drivers. And Komakopa now coming through Coram and heading into Murray's corner. Final corner here. Losing pace, though. And it looks like he is going to lift here and just pull off to reset to pit lane. So that will do it for him. Meanwhile, Sensei Tiga will come across the line and he improves his lap time, going fastest on his final attempt, a 1:55.510 for Sensei Tiga in the 323 McLaren. And that could do it for the AM and Pro-Am drivers here. Maybe your fastest lap time out of that group. Atomic Hippo in the AM driver class will come across the line, a 1:59.165, good enough for 9th overall. Now we shift our focus over to the pro drivers as they head out on circuit. Looks like Snakebite in the 69 Ferrari is going to head us to our first flying lap, followed by Sucka 509. Oh, and Snakebite is off here. That is at the exit of Nelson. And he is back underway here, so he will give up the lead to the flying lap here. Sucka 509 out of Murray's and heading to the line. We'll see what our first flying laps look like here in about a minute and a half's time. And if it's your first time joining us as well, each and every week here, we always make sure to highlight stackup.org. So if you haven't checked them out, make sure you check them out. Great charity opportunity to help support veterans, both U.S. and NATO allied forces, active duty, and veteran status. And you'll see a link in the Twitch chat. You make a donation directly to Tiltfi. Now out of Hamilton here for Sucka 509, leading us on the flying laps here now for pro drivers. Not a great race for Sucka 509 last week, unfortunately, after having some incidents. So hopefully he will be able to pick up the pace here and find some improvement. He's had a little bit of a tough go of it here so far this season, between the Hungarian Ring and Indianapolis, as well as Bathurst. And now through Brundle into Nelson. Just a couple corners left to go here. And we will see what Sucka 509 has in store here and how well he can do compared to the rest of the group here. Now out of Murray's, and we'll come to the line. And he will run a 1:54.705 for his fast lap here. First attempt. And it looks like HCI Danger will take over P9 behind him at the moment. And your overall leader here, Bubbling Panda, in that 71 Mustang, has found a lot of success here so far in torque, as he will take over P2 at the moment, a 1:54.837. So the rain not really upsetting that Mustang too much. As I say that, he almost loses the back end through turn 1 at Riches. And second, 509, managing to hold on to preliminary pole here for the time being. Got 3 minutes still to go in qualifying. Now coming into Williams, see how he can hold the pace. He's flirting right about even with his last lap, only about 800ths up, but he is starting to gain pace now at a full 10th up. And looks like a little bit of a wobble out of Nelson, but he is still holding pace here now, almost 2.5 tenths up. So we could see a little bit of improvement here, which is always a good thing, even with some time left, even though it's a minimal amount of time. anything to separate yourself from the grouping behind you is key here. Now 4/10 and dropping a little bit of pace, so he's going to have to really try and push it here to the line. He will still cross with about 3/10 of improvement to a 154.422. See if he can hold on here with just under 2 minutes still to go. And the 33 Mercedes of Kick and Joe Mama will improve from P11 to P4 with a 155.070 in only his second race in the pro group. And meanwhile, the 661 BMW of Oil Slick, your league owner and admin, having some troubles here, sitting in P9 at the moment, a 156.007, his fastest lap. And he has invalidated his current lap, so he won't see any improvement. He's over 9.5 seconds off pace regardless at the moment. So definitely an area of opportunity for Oil Slick. Going to have to really try and pick up the pace here to get to the line with about 66 seconds still to go in qualifying. Meanwhile, Chug-a-Lug in the 327 BMW has now taken over second place with a 154.145, and it looks like we also have a new preliminary pole sitter, the 71 Mustang of Bubble and Panda, a name that we have been mentioning quite a lot towards the front here every week, as he now sits at a 154.145. And looks like Panda is improving his pace here. He is a little over 3/10, but starting to fall as he exits Nelson. And now through Coram and heading into Murray's, back to about 3/10 up here. So we'll see if there's any improvement for him. As the session clock has hit 0, these are the final qualifying attempts now. And he does improve to a 153.795. That may get him to hold on to the position. Snakebite will take over P6 at the moment, a 155.005. It looks like Sucka 509 has found himself sitting in P3 at the moment, and he will have one last attempt here with just under a minute and a half still to go before the session will officially close. Meanwhile, Oil Slick has dropped to 10th place now, just ahead of Sucka 509. Oh, and it looks like Oil Slick is having troubles here, and he is going to pull off. We will likely see him return to pit lane, unfortunately. So he is not going to be real happy with that starting position. Meanwhile, Sucka 509, one of 2 cars still on circuit, but the other car is Snakebite, who has already crossed the finish line and received the checkered flag. So Sucka 509 is our final driver in qualifying here. He goes through Nelson here. Oh, and overcorrects it, loses some pace now. He was over 3/10 up on his lap time, now barely a 10th and a half. And starting to lose more pace, exits Murray's and heads to the line, and he is now in the negative. And continuing to lose pace. Unfortunately, no improvement for Sucka 509, so he will find himself starting P3. And just like that, qualifying's in the books. We'll take a short 3-minute break unless you're a Twitch Turbo or subscriber to the channel. That way we can go ad-free to the end. We'll be back for 45 minutes of Snetterton. And for those of you that are Twitch Turbo or channel subscribers, welcome in. Thank you for the support as always. And we will see what we have in store here. The wet conditions definitely playing a large factor here tonight. And it's going to be interesting to see how long this rain holds off. As Pale Batman mentioned in the chat here, a dry racing line was starting to develop. Now that is likely going to disappear, at least for a few laps, but once we get all 19 of these drivers running, we may see that develop pretty quickly as the race gets underway. Again, not a circuit we see a ton of here in North America, in the States at least. A circuit that, unless you've pretty much played a game or follow a specific series that actually runs this circuit often, you may not be aware that this circuit even exists. A former Royal Air Force base, but it is an interesting one to say the least. And really here, what I am going to suggest we really pay attention to, especially in the first few minutes of the race getting underway, first probably 2 laps at least, at bare minimum. Really, I'm going to say turn 2 is going to be the big one. That's Montreal. And then probably turn 4 at both of the hairpins. And then the next big one to watch is going to be Nelson and Bombhole, which are turns 9 and 8. For 8 and 9, those are very difficult corners to navigate, especially in traffic. And then you throw in the tricky wet conditions. You will stay on this screen for probably at least the first lap, just because it'll be much easier to navigate as anything unfolds here. Hey, Link, thank you for renewing your sub. Again, as always, appreciate your support, buddy. And our formation lap will get underway here in just a moment. As Bubble and Panda will lead us away for the formation lap. If it's your first time and you're not familiar, we do a double file side-by-side start here. Drivers will get the formation lap to themselves to get the tires and brakes happy. We go lights out for 45 minutes. Right here where you see Bubble and Panda, that is Montreal turn number 2. And coming into Palmer turn 3 here now. And it is likely going to be a very scrappy first couple of laps here, Link. Don't be surprised if there's some heavy contact, especially at turns 2 and 4. As we see Bubble and Panda getting ready to come up to turn 4 here. Might butcher the name of this one. I'm going to take my best shot at it, but I believe it is Agostini. One is labeled as at turn 4. Montreal and Agostini are the 2 hairpin corners here. And now through turn 5 at Hamilton. Turn 6 is Augie's. Oh, coming up to turn 7, which is Williams. And onto the Bentley straight. And turn number 8, which is Brundle. At the end of this straight here, and just after the line for the start of Sector 3. Some rather small sectors, to say the least, here at just under 3 miles for a single lap. And now we come through Coram at turn 11 and up to turn 12 for Murray's. And we will get ready to go lights out here as the drivers set up double files side by side. Hey, Super Striker, welcome in, buddy. Sorry I didn't see you pop into chat there. Happy to see you in here. Actually, kind of surprised given the time difference. But we are about to go lights out for 45 minutes Snetterton action. Bubblin' Panda and Chug-a-Lug will lead us to the green flag here. And now we will wait and see what we have in store through turns 1 and 2. Like a solid start for Bubblin' Panda as he will open up a gap already. And looks like Matty Ice and It's Finley have opted to start from pit lane. So It's Finley in 18th and Matty Ice in 19th. Now coming through turn 1. Bubblin' Panda will take the field through turn 3. And surprisingly enough, we have seen a solid first lap here. No major incidents. Now the timing having some troubles catching up here. Not uncommon with the first sector for some reason on the opening lap. Regardless, Senna 509 finds himself in P15 at the moment here. Look at this, the 661 of Oil Slick has dropped all the way from 10th place into 13th. Bubblin' Panda still holding on to the lead, a little over 7.5 tenths now. Coming up to turn 8, now at a full second. And now coming up to Coram at turn 11. And the first lap getting ready to close out here. And look at this HTI Danger in that 78 Mustang, trailing Succa 509 by about 3 tenths here. And they will come up to the line. And just like that, the pro drivers have completed lap number 1. With the exception of Oil Slick and It's Finley, who were trailing behind. Oil Slick battling his way all the way back in P13. This has not been a kind track to him, and a little bit of an upset there through turn 1. A little too much curbing, upsets the suspension, but he holds on to it. Looks like he dives a little too deep into that corner, and FHM J-Dog is going to try to take advantage now. Not enough momentum to overtake, though. But looks to the inside at turn 3, and will not find it. And HTI Danger still chasing after Succa 509. Bogey-Eyed Flea in tow behind. Snakebite 63 now. Having some troubles here in the 69 Ferrari. It looks like Bogey-Eyed Flea and Snakebite both having some troubles here. Actually, it looks like Snakebite is being scored potentially incorrectly here, showing in P6 currently on the leaderboard, but he is significantly behind. We'll see if this updates as he comes to the end of Sector 2. And it does indeed. He is now in P10. Pickin' Joe Mama finds himself in P6. You're going to go to trackside now here. And Cool Whip in the number 3 BMW, who found the fastest lap time in qualifying for the AM Pro-Am drivers, now finds himself in P7 overall. Sensei Tiga trailing behind by about a second at the line. 9 tenths to be specific. Chug-a-Lug now 2 seconds behind your leader, Bubblin' Panda. But he's got Succa 509 in tow in 3rd place, followed closely by HTI Danger and Bogey-Eyed Flea. Chugalug looking to make improvements. Found some decent pace last week at the Hungarian Ring. We'll see if he can find a decent finish here. The first 5 minutes about to be closed out here in Snetterton. The rain is continuing to fall so far. We'll see how long that lasts. Gap starting to close a little bit here. It looks like Bubble and Pan now 1.4 seconds ahead of Chugalug. It will come to the end of Sector 2. That gap changes to 1.5 seconds now. If it's your first time and you're not familiar, wondering what that orange number 1 is to the right of the driver number on the leaderboard, that is a mandatory pit stop. So here in Snetterton for tonight's race, all drivers must make a minimum 1 stop in this race. So the strategy will come into play to see who takes advantage of potentially over or under fueling their car, just needing to swap tires or add additional fuel to go the entire distance. Average stop time here for these GT cars for tires and fuel can take up to or more than 45 seconds in some cases. And that doesn't even factor any sort of damage repairs that may be necessary. HDI Danger here in P4 in the 78 Mustang, as Bogey-Eyed Flea in the 27 Ferrari right behind, and Kickin' Joe Mama in the 33 Mercedes. That's 4, 5, and 6 right here. And looks like Fast Lap currently belongs to Chugalug at the moment in P2. And that is a 153.362. Interesting camera angles here provided by Kunos with the ACC cameras, so try and use these to our advantage as much as possible. HTI Danger has his hands full here with that Mustang in the wet conditions, with Bogey-Eyed Flea in tow. Kickin' Joe Mama's within 1 second now behind. Let's see what that looks like as they come to the end of Sector 2. Like Bogey-Eyed Flea's dropped to 1.1, and Kickin' Joe Mama now 1.6 back. And Azteca in the 169, finding himself in P16 at the moment, according to the leaderboard. I believe that is going to update, though. Yes, it is 17. Like the leaderboard struggling a little bit here tonight, unfortunately. Minor difficulties on the technical side of things. Just ahead of Azteca is Matty Ice in the 92 Lexus in 16th. And kind of in no man's land here. He's about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds ahead of Azteca. And looks like he is a solid about 2 seconds behind its Finley. Meanwhile, J-Tig Racing holding on to P11. And I believe he is our furthest forward running AM driver in the 88 here as he goes off track. And Komakopa should take the position now as he looks to the inside. We're going to battle through turn 4. And it's going to be Komakopa at the end, almost across the nose, but we may have some contact here. And FHM J-Dog goes off in the grass in the 85 behind. Like Senna 509 has found his way back to pit lane in the number 12. And FHM J-Dog in the 85 Mercedes back on track here, but is now trailing behind J-Tig and Komakopa. And we may have another car between them here. That I believe is Bilagrill. Yes, indeed it is. Bilagrill in the 98 Mustang has found his mix into P13 now. may have a solid battle coming into play here before long. Omacopa holding on to 11th at the moment. Let me see if we can fix the leaderboard. And Komakopa will hold on to that position here still. JTIG Racing in tow. Violet Grill and FHM J-Dog not giving up without a fight here, as the first 10 minutes has now surpassed. Doesn't look like this rain has any end in sight. Still don't have a dry racing line really starting to form at all yet. See the spray coming off the back of the car still pretty significantly. Komakopa's found some pace here. And JTIG in the 88 now, having some troubles in turn 4. A little bit of a slower pace there. Violet Grill was able to close the gap pretty significantly coming into the braking zone. But now it looks like Violet Grill having some troubles of his own in 13th just behind. Checking in on your race leader, Bubblin' Panda in the 71 here. He has lost quite a bit of time, and Chug-a-Lug is now within half a second at the end of Sector 2, so we'll see what it looks like at the end of the lap here. And at the line, it is just over 7.5 tenths. So Chug-a-Lug is still within striking distance here very early. And it looks like Bubblin' Panda trying to find some pace here. And now losing that pace out of Palmer at turn 3. And Chug-a-Lug in the 327 still right here. Sucka 509 in tow behind. Oh, and look at this. Chug-a-Lug's looking to the outside here. Is that Oogie's? Oh, and Chug-a-Lug loses the back end, over accelerates, and now Sucka 509 will go by. A little bit of contact as well. And now it looks like Sucka 509 has found his way out front. We have our first lead change as the Nissan of Sucka 509 now leads. It looks like Bubblin' Panda may be having some difficulties here. He has dropped all the way to 4th now. Has dropped his pace pretty significantly. We are closing in on the first 15 minutes in the books. We'll see what Bubblin' Panda decides to do here. We could see an early pit stop from him as a result of the contact and incident on this lap, but we'll see what he opts to do here. And indeed we are. He's going to come into pit lane. Got to be careful for pit entry not to get caught speeding. And he will successfully make it, so he will come in to service his mandatory pit stop here a bit early. Meanwhile, HTI Danger in the 78 Mustang finding his way into P3. He is about 8 tenths off pace behind Chug-a-Lug. And we'll see what it looks like at the end of Sector 1 here as they transition into the middle sector. And just over 8 tenths now. Chug-a-Lug with his hands full with traffic and battling for the lead there. That incident between him and Bubblin' Panda going to be an interesting one to see how it plays out for the rest of the race for both of them. It looks like Bubblin' Panda is on his way back out now. Meanwhile, Snakebite in the 69 Ferrari holding on to P8, trying to close the gap to Sensei Tiga. Cool Whip as well, just ahead. And in fact, it looks like Sensei Tiga and Cool Whip have swapped spots, and Cool Whip is going to go wide at the exit of Williams now. Oil Slick has managed to find his way back inside the top 10 here. Finds himself in 9th. He has gained a position from where he started here in the race. We'll see if he can hold on to this momentum. Definitely been a tricky track for him to hold on to the line and the car. See the BMW sliding through that corner there. And now we've got a car having some troubles here. The 88 of JTIG Racing. And he continues to have troubles here. Exit of Nelson. It's turn number 9. He's now dropped all the way to 15th. We'll see if JTIG decides to stay out or if he comes in for his mandatory. It looks like he is also going to come in for his mandatory here a bit early. We now have just under 29 minutes still to go here. Meanwhile, checking in back towards the front, 4th place, the 27 Ferrari of Bogey-Eyed Flea holds on to a top 5 right now. And interestingly enough, we haven't seen this a ton. We have 5 different manufacturers represented in the top 5 currently. And they are currently running as Nissan, BMW, Ford, Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren for your top 6. We have seen the Mustang drivers really dominate here at the end of Season 2 and to start Season 3. But now we are starting to see a bit of a transition. Racecraft really starting to come into play for a number of these drivers. Seeing a lot of improvement. Now kicking Joe Mama in 5th, starting to close the gap to Bogey-Eyed Flea. And looks like he overcooks it into turn 2. Montreal having some effects here on a number of these drivers. And it looks like we are starting to see a slight dry line starting to develop, but the rain is still relatively heavy here. And the gap to Kickin' Joe Mama at the end of Sector 1. Now just over 1.4 seconds, but Bogey will go wide here through Hamilton. And Kickin' Joe Mama may find himself in a battle for finding his way into the top 4 now. Already inside the top 5 for the 2nd week in a row. Now at the exit of Nelson, we've got a car just ahead of Bogey. 88. Try to cycle through the drivers here real quick. That is JTIG, who's scored all the way back in 19th now. And we will see what he can do here in the remaining 25.5 minutes still to go in this race. Already serviced the mandatory pit stop, so he does have a bit of an advantage there. However, that could turn into a disadvantage if things start to clear up, or if anything else happens He's going to be struggling for grip by the end of the race here compared to the drivers that have yet to pit. And HTI Danger has found his way out front to race lead now. And Sucka 509 has dropped to P9 now. So he's had a issue and has not serviced his pit stop yet. Fortunately, we did miss that one, so we don't know what was the cause of it. And look at this. Because of the incident here, we now have a new top 3 here. HTI Danger is out front in the lead for the first time tonight. Only your second different leader after Bubble and Panda. Bogey-Eyed Flea holding on to P2 in the 27, and the 33 Mercedes of Kick and Joe Mama in 3rd place now. Bosoms, welcome in, buddy. Happy to see you back in. And I don't think it's really sunny over there at the moment, considering the time. There's a pretty significant gap here for HTI Danger. 4.5 seconds with Bogey-Eyed Flea. And Kick and Joe Mama has come in to service his mandatory pit stop. Meanwhile, Bogey-Eyed Flea and Sensei Tiga now make up 2nd and 3rd at the moment. Snakebite P4, and look at this Oil Slick. After starting in P10, has found his way into top 5 now, and Atomic Hippo in the 999 in 16th. Now having some troubles here coming out of Williams. There's also some nose damage here. The front end of that car is smushed in pretty good. You can see that hood kind of flapping around as well. And looks like he's having some trouble getting into the braking zone at Brundle and Nelson now. And now through Quorum, we'll see if Atomic Hippo opts to stay out. There's some pretty significant visual damage here. And judging by the vehicle's on-track performance, I suspect he may have some underlining damage under that, but he is going to stay out for at least one more lap here.
We are halfway through.
And we are officially halfway through the 45 minutes of Snetterton. The 92 will get a drive-through penalty for speeding in pit lane. That will have to be serviced within 3 laps here. So Matty Ice gets a drive-through, and he's going to pull off to the side and reset. And it looks like he is going to retire. And as I say that, Cool Whip in the number 3 has some troubles here. And that is at Nelson. Looks like he avoids contact with the wall, but does find his way out into the grass. And looks like your leaders have come in for their pit stops now. Bogey-Eyed Flea will take over race lead. Oil Slick will take over P2. HTI Danger, Sensei Tiga, Snakebite, and Cool Whip are all on pit lane. They're mandatory. And Kick and Joe Mama, after servicing the vehicle here, looks like he has not been credited for servicing the mandatory, though. Now in 11th place. The 33 is back on pit lane. And Cool Whip will head back out, and he gets a stop and go for speeding on pit exit. So that is a 30-second stop in the box. We'll have to service that within 3 laps. And after starting with 19 drivers, we are down to 17 still remaining in this one. And your pole sitter, Bubbling Panda, finding himself back in P7 now. And a good bit of pace here, and a lot of work still ahead of him. Actually, as I say that, the leaderboard updating, he's in P6 here, and looks on the inside of Sensei Tiga. He will take over P5 now, and the 85 will also get a stop and go penalty for speeding on pit lane exit. FHM J-Dog is going to struggle here. Stay in the competitive line. Nick and Joe Mama holding on to 12th place at the moment. And Bubbling Panda is the furthest forward running vehicle here, who has serviced the mandatory pit stop in P5. HTI Danger is in 7th place currently, and is the next car who has serviced the car already. Everybody inside the top 4 and 6th place still need to make their mandatory pit stop. As I say that, Violet Grill has come in to service the car now. And it looks like we've got an issue with the number 3 of Cool Whip, as he's back on pit lane here. And I'm not sure if he reset to pit lane. I missed what happened. He is scored in 9th at the moment, actually 7th in the moment. Meanwhile, back towards the front here, Bubbling Panda in P4. See what he is scored as time-wise at the end of the sector. It's Finley in P3, is now 19 seconds behind Oil Slick in P2. 14.5 seconds between Finley and Bubbling Panda for 3rd and 4th. And Azteca in 16th at the moment. He serviced his mandatory already, but he is having some troubles here. That was at Oogie's. Oh, and now at Williams gets a little too much curb. He's going to have to let the 79 of HTI Danger through. Excuse me, the 78 of HTI Danger through. He's a lap down to him. J-Tig, who was having some troubles about 10 minutes ago now almost, finds himself in 14th in that 88 Ferrari. And Bogey-Eyed Flea has found his way to pit lane, so Oil Slick has taken over race lead for the first time tonight. It's Finley also heading into pit lane, and that is basically going to give Bubble and Panda a podium here, and with Oil Slick still needing to make a mandatory pit stop, this could be a big opportunity for both of the drivers. The question for Oil Slick now is he going to get away with just tires, or will he need to add fuel? So as Panda goes through turn 2 at Montreal, Oil Slick was just exiting Oogie's at turn 6. And we will see if Oil Slick opts to come in at the end of this lap, or if he will stay out for a few more laps here. There's about 4 turns separating them on the circuit, and that is almost half a lap. So as Bubble and Panda is about halfway down the Bentley straight, Oil Slick will exit Murray's here at turn 12, and it looks like he is going to come into pit lane now. There's 32.5 seconds separating them. We'll wait and see what happens with Panda here, as he will now come up to Bomb Hole at turn 10, and now Corum is next at turn 11. Oil Slick in the box here servicing the BMW. Panda now coming up to Murray's. And onto the front straight here, out of the final corner. And Oil Slick still stationary, so Bubba and Panda will take back race lead here with just over 15 minutes still to go. Your pole sitter finds his way back out front. 85 has serviced the stop and go, so he is all clear as Oil Slick now pulls away from the box. A little bit of tire spin. No penalty, so he is back on the racing surface here and scored in 5th place. This could still be a solid finish for Oil Slick. He's going to be on a little bit of a disadvantage on his outlap here. Komakopa on much warmer tires behind by about 10 seconds, though. You can see Oil Slick really struggling at Montreal at turn 2. HTI Danger now in P2, Snakebite P3 with a mandatory pit stop still to serve, as well as Komakopa in 6th. It looks like at the end of Sector 1, the gap from Bubblin' Panda to Danger, 6.5 seconds. And we will see what that looks like here at the end of Sector 2. And it goes up a little bit from 6.6 to 6.9. So gaining some pace here for Panda. We have another retirement as we are down to 16 drivers still running in this one. JTIG back inside the top 10 here. That 88 Ferrari looking a little worse for wear visually. A lot of just kind of debris all over the body surface here. He has definitely found his way into the grass, and it still looks like the rain is holding on very strong here. And now with just over 13 minutes to go, Bogey-Eyed Flea finds himself in P4. Snakebite still holding on to P3. However, Snakebite still has not made his mandatory pit stop. And now Azteca is going to take on the inside line at turn 2. He's a lap down to Bogey here, but interesting take by Azteca. Not a position battle, but still trying to be competitive here. You see Oil Slick just behind in the background there in the 661. As we come to the end of Sector 1, the gap is 2 seconds between 5th and 4th. The Bogey-Eyed Flea at a little bit of a disadvantage here, it looks like. '72 Porsche of Komakopa still holding on to P7 here. He's got about 14 seconds approximately to Sucka 509. But we'll see how much longer Komakopa decides to stay out, because he has still the mandatory pit stop to make. It's Finley also with a mandatory. So Snakebite, Komakopa, and It's Finley still yet to make their mandatory pit stops as we are now under 12 minutes to go. And look at this, Bogey-Eyed Flea is going to go through the grass, the inside line there through Rundle and Nelson. That is going to give Oil Slick P4 as a result. No penalty to report, though, it looks like. The automated system not giving him any sort of advantage, so Bogey-Eyed Flea will drop to P5 now as a result. That will play into Oil Slick's favor. So as long as Oil Slick... Oh, and as I was about to say, if he keeps it clean, he loses the back end on the curbing coming out of Murray's onto the straight. And he'll get back on the racing surface here as Bila-Grill will go by to take over 5th now. The Oil Slick scored in 6th place. Meanwhile, back out front, Bubblin' Panda holds on to race lead in that 71. Just over 8 seconds to HTI Danger. The Mustangs dominating the top 2 right now. And yet another retirement here. We're down to 15 out of 19 that started this race. And by the grill, about 4.5 seconds behind Bogey-Eyed Flea. And just over 2.5 seconds ahead of Oil Slick. Right now, your top 4 are the Mustangs in 1 and 2 and the Ferraris in 3 and 4. Snakebite still yet to make that mandatory, though. And Copa here in the Porsche now, under 2 seconds back on Sucka 509. So Sucka 509 finding himself back inside the top 10 here after dropping outside due to the earlier incident. There's a pretty significant gap for Sucka 509 to Oil Slick right now. Oil Slick coming up to Murray's here as Sucka will come to the end of Sector 2, 26.9 seconds back on Oil Slick. Meanwhile, Copa within a second, in fact, just under 0.8 on Sucka 509. And Kickin' Joe Mama, who was contending with a possible podium spot here earlier, now struggling to find his way. He is just outside the top 10 in 11th right now, behind It's Finley. Advantage will go to Kickin' Joe Mama, though. He's 1.4 seconds behind It's Finley. Finley still with the mandatory pit stop as well. You have to wonder how much further Finley is going to push this one, as well as Copa. We have about 8 minutes still left here. And coming to the line here for the next lap, it looks like that gap has grown for Kickin' Joe Mama as he's now 2 seconds behind It's Finley. Meanwhile, back in 6th place, Oil Slick trying to catch up to Bogey-Eyed Flea here. In of Sector 2, the gap just over half a second coming into Brundle and Nelson. Oh, and Oil Slick goes a little wide, upsets the car, but holds on to it. Oh, and now Bogey-Eyed Flea makes the Ferrari a lawnmower and goes through the grass at the exit of Bomb Hole. Oil Slick will find himself back into the top 5 here with just 7 minutes left. Meanwhile, Bubblin' Panda now with a 7-second lead over HTI Danger. Almost up to 8 seconds, 7.7 seconds separating them at the end of Sector 1. See what this changes to from 7.7 at the end of Sector 1. As Danger will come to the end of Sector 2 now. It is 8.1 seconds, so about 0.3 of a second gained for Bubblin' Panda here. Meanwhile, Grill going through Augie's. We'll see where he is scored behind the 69. He is about half a lap back, roughly. He's still within striking distance of being able to overtake for a top 3 here, though, since Snakebite still has the mandatory pit stop to make. And you have to start to wonder, Does Snakebite realize he still has the mandatory? Is this a UI glitch potentially? Did he already get service credit for servicing the car the mandatory time, and maybe our leaderboard just is not correct? Same with Komakopa. They are both staying out, and we are coming up on the final 5 minutes here. I don't know if Pale Batman maybe has any insight from Kickin' Joe Mama's stream at all, or anybody of the other members' live stream. And looks like Komakopa still staying out, coming up on 4.5 minutes to go here. So holding on to 7th place. And Sucka 509 now in P8 in that 34 Nissan. At the line, he was just over 2.5 seconds back on Komakopa. Just over 7.8 seconds ahead of JTIG Racing. It's Finley still holding on to P10 as well. And looks like he is battling for position with Kickin' Joe Mama, though. Kickin' Joe Mama's going to look to the inside of Montreal here at the exit. Who's going to take it? And it looks like it's Finley just ahead, but now it's a drag race into turn 3 at Palmer. Kickin' Joe Mama will tuck in behind. Now down the short straight to the end of Sector 1. And who's going to have the better line? For Augustini. This is still very close. The gap just under 0.2 at the end of Sector 1. And this is going to make the final 3 minutes very interesting here for 10th place. It looks like your race leader, Bubble and Panda, just in the background there, getting ready to lap these two. And they are side by side in Brundle, and it looks like it's Finley is going to drop back now. So Kickin' Joe Mama will take over P10. And I don't know that this battle is still over or not here. The big question is that unknown for the mandatory pit stop still showing, but Finley staying out regardless, so I have a feeling it's just a UI glitch here. We now have just over 2 minutes to go. Next time by will be the final lap of the race. Bubble and Panda now watching the battle for 10th place unfold in front of him. On board with Panda here, coming up to Palmer at turn 3. Battle for P10 just ahead. Let's see if we can find... It's Finley here one more time. There we go. It's Finley here on board now. Oh, you can see Kickin' Joe Mama a little too wide at the exit. Now onto the Bentley straight. Trying to utilize that slipstream to his advantage. That windshield wiper going as fast as it can. And look at the advantage of top end for the Mercedes here. And Finley a little too deep into Brundle, it looks like. The gap at the end of Sector 2, 0.2. And now Oil Slick is having some troubles here. And Agostini, turn 4. And that front end has heavy damage.
Alright, man. The leader is on the final lap. Give it a final push.
And there it is. Final lap here in Snetterton. Bubblin' Panda has taken the white flag. The battle for 10th place continues here between Kickin' Joe Mama and It's Finley, favoring Kickin' Joe Mama here. And the gap at the line was 7.6 seconds for Panda to HTI Danger. So the Mustangs really coming through here tonight. They are currently scored in 1st, 2nd, and 4th. Violet Grill in the Pro-Am driver class, finding his way into the top 5 here. And HTI Danger in the 78 out of turn 4 now. And looks like Snakebite holding on to P3 still here on the final lap. About 10.8 seconds back on Danger. And By the Grill just coming to the end of Sector 1. He is 28.5 seconds back. And that battle here for 10th still raging on between Kickin' Joe Mama and It's Finley coming up to Murray's corner. They will have one more lap to battle this out here because the leader is still behind them and has not lapped them. And Finley over-accelerates the car out of Murray's. That's going to give the advantage to Kickin' Joe Mama as they will come across the line. Meanwhile, Bubblin' Panda will take the checkered flag right behind them for the race win. Another solid outing by Bubblin' Panda here. And HTI Danger will take E2. Meanwhile, Snakebite will cross the line in 3rd, but you can see a penalty has been assessed. We'll see what happens post-race here. And Oil Slick, who was inside the top 5 for a good while once again, now finding himself in P6 at the moment. And Bogey-Eyed Flea just ahead in P5. Bogey will hold on to the position, though. So Oil Slick will bring a damaged BMW 661 out of Murray's and will cross the line in P6. And in the background, the 72 Porsche of Coma Copa will come across the line in 7th. And JTIG having some troubles here at Murray's. And Sucka 509 will hold on to P8. JTIG will hold on and find a top 10 here. Best finish by any of the amateur drivers here in 9th place overall. And the final driver across the line here, it looks like. That is the 33 of Kickin' Joe Mama, who will be scored in 8th place, it looks like. So after the penalties are assessed by the automated system, that pushes Snakebite up 2 spots from 10th to 8th. So we'll see if that stands post-race. And just like that, 45 minutes of Snetterton is in the books. We are finished for round number 4. Up next, Green Hell at Nordschleife at the Nürburgring. Unfortunately, I will not be live for that one next Tuesday. The next race I'll be live for is round 6 at Watkins Glen on the 17th. But with that, we are wrapped up here in the UK for tonight. Thank you everyone who joined. Link, thank you for your resub and the gift sub to Super Ginge or Super Striker. And thank you everyone who joined this evening. I will see you on the 17th. With that, have yourselves a great rest of your night. Stay safe out there, everybody, and we'll see if we can find someone to raid here.